So I have a confession to make. I had no intention of coming here looking like a kupala, dressed in a rainbow, but it's freezing cold. So, forgive me if I don't have that. Got to get the clicker. So we're gonna start. When we were kids, we all had dreams, right? And we had no limits to what we could and we could do, and what we couldn't do. Somehow, as we grow up and we become corporate people, that kind of imagination kind of dies with us. So this talk is going to be about why we're trying to get that spirit back, how we try to do it, and what happened. I brainstormed. Okay, not working. So I brainstormed with the team a little bit before coming up to this and how we're going to express this. And my company is ExxonMobil, and one of the most visible presence that we have is our service station. So we kind of sat down and we talked and we thought about what is our goal for our retail business 5 years from now. We had some good discussion and the team said, yeah, we're going to be number 2. And I'm like, okay, it's interesting. Why do we think we can be number 2? Because number 1 is always going to be you know who, right? So I thought that was interesting. I said, okay, look, guys, let me challenge you with something else. If I told you today that Tesla or Amazon was coming to invest in the retail service station, do we think they can be number 1? Oh, they paused a little bit and they said, maybe. Okay, I'll take a maybe. So what is it about these companies that they have that we do not have as a corporate? Before we do that, I just want to set grounds because innovation is what people talk a lot about. Some of you may have seen this distinction before. The industry says there are 3 kinds of innovation. Core innovation, that's what we do really well in corporate. Improvement, efficiency, automation, doing well what we already know how to do, right? And I think example, just to give you guys some idea, an example that I like to use is Netflix as a company. Their core innovation is something like trying to predict what you like. You watch this movie, you're probably going to like this movie. Supports their core innovation, right? Adjacent is something that you haven't done before as a company. It's not new for the world, but it's new for you as a company. For Netflix, it was when they started doing their original content, right? Somebody else, the movie companies have done it, they're doing it for the first time. That was adjacent for Netflix. Transformational, another buzzword that everybody uses. For innovation, it means world changing, industry changing. Netflix did this by introducing streaming, right? If you think back about companies like startups, so Netflix started off as a DVD and envelope when they were, at the beginning. Startup company can focus a lot of their time and energy on transformational because they don't have a core business line yet. So they focus a lot of time on transformation, trying different things. As time goes by, they transform, right? And that transformative innovation becomes their core business line. And that's when you become a corporation. You have core innovation, which is your main business line. You have adjacent, and you have some little time to do a little bit of transformational. ExxonMobil at one stage was like that too. You think about us probably 100 years ago, John D. Rockefeller, he started the whole oil and gas industry. So what we're trying to do is get that spirit back. There's a book by John Kotter, Accelerate. He talks about how to get these 2, operating mechanism together, the startup mechanism and the corporate mechanism together, right? So with that in mind, this talk is going to be focusing on, how do we go about trying to find adjacent and transformational, because core is easy, relatively, for corporate efficiency, right? So how do you find something new? And if you think about going into a supermarket in a foreign country where you have, a foreign language where you have no idea what's good and what's not, it's very simple. Do it by trial and error, right? You try something, you don't like it, you try something else, and then you don't like it, and then at the end, once you're sure of this thing, you run it by, your family, your wife, say, hey, this is the product I'm going to go with now. Looks very simple, right? It's actually these pieces that are very challenging towards the end. So this will keep coming up again and again. So I've talked you through about what we're trying to do. Let me introduce myself now. I think you guys already know that my nickname is Lek because you referred to me a lot over the last talk. My name is Jakkris, Tangkuampien, Lek. I've been with ExxonMobil for 14 years. I've gone through about 7 or 8 assignments, through those years. If you're not familiar with our company, ExxonMobil, we have a couple of affiliates and presence in Thailand. I think you would know us as Esso and Mobil. In America, you would know us as Exxon. So we just formed a new team that I'm part of, and there's a couple of people here as well in June. And we formed the team for 3 reasons. We asked the question, where does innovation reside? Does it reside in everybody, or do we need different kind of mindset in people? So we kind of thought, yeah, core innovation is what everybody must have to improve existing processes. But to think about something different, adjacent, and transformational, you really need a different kind of mindset because you need to ask different kind of questions. We also thought about, we have got, I was just telling everybody earlier, the mothership, the Layman, that, global. Can innovation be driven globally? What about the grassroots level? The United States don't use line a lot. So if you think about it, we have opportunities that can drive innovation from the grassroots, where we can support the local, regional level. Most importantly, our company, like many of you, have got people who've got their own passion. We've got people supporting SAP, working on blockchain. We've got people, as a part-time basis. We've got people supporting hybrids, working on chatbot as part of their spare time. So we thought, okay, look, we're going to put these people and put together a team, myself included, and form a team that's dedicated to try and make this innovation happen. And that's how the team was formed in June. So I'm going to be sharing some of the experience, some of the things we try to do with you today. Before we go back, people keep saying this, and I'm going to say it again. Change is hard. It's really hard. There's a video that I really like. It's called The Backwards Bicycle. I think some of you guys may have seen it. If you Google quickly, riding reverse bicycle or backwards bicycle, you come up with this video where there's a gentleman, there's a bike, and it's been engineered so that if you turn right, it goes left. If you turn left, it goes right. With this simple thing in mind, you say, hey, I just need to compensate, right? But you can't. It takes the guys months to read it. So what I'm trying to say is, we're going to go and talk to management, and they're going to say, oh, go Agile, go DevOps, go innovation. But as soon as something happens, the easiest thing is going to be people are going to fall back to the way that we operated before. Change is hard. The first one, lesson learned for me, the biggest one is the minimal viable product, MVP. It's a term that everybody talks about and everybody have their own meaning to it. The first work that we came across was something called a pricing chatbot. I'm not going to elaborate, make it a generic pricing chatbot. We talked to our business contact, and they say, hey, we've got this pricing chatbot idea. It's going to make us lots of money. It's going to really improve process in the business line. So we say, okay, fine. Tell us more about this. How long have we been working on this? So I started, okay, let's give it a $1 tag, minimal viable product. That's my impression of minimal. How long have we been working on this? Oh, we've been working on this for a month now. Okay, price just went up. Not so minimal, you're working for something for a month, right? So we're going to present to the business. How many? Oh, the whole of the business unit. Next week, dollar price just went up again, right? After the meeting, they came to us and said, hey, we were a little bit disappointed with the results. Is it minimal? To me, it's not minimal anymore. Minimal is not, the value is not just the dollar value. It's a reputation, it's a time that people spend. And we will talk a little bit about why that's such a challenge. What we try to do is we needed to push back to the left further. That is not minimal. Even that's not minimal. How do we get back so that we don't spend so much dollar value investing? Because it's really hard to pull back. So we introduced design thinking, introduced it to the business. We convinced them we need to come back to the beginning and use design thinking. Design thinking is actually a critical part of a lean startup to discover. There's actually a very, very blurred line between the two. We also tell them that we don't need the whole department, we just need 1 or 2 people. People's time are valuable, right? We need to be minimal in our viable product. And then we use paper mockup, and you guys will see the result of this a little bit. And with this, I think I've coined a term that's called the Bruce Wayne syndrome. You guys have seen this, the movie Justice League, right? There's a part where the Flash is turning to Batman and says, hey, so what's your superpower? And Batman says, I'm rich. Of course, it's fictional. Nobody has got that kind of money, right? But we need to have that spirit of entrepreneurship. We need to consider about, look, can we go really, really low? You know, this is a very common image from Henrik's. You know, I think you guys have seen it, MVP. The trouble with paper mock-up and things that looks silly is you don't see Batman on skateboard, right? You see him on the Batmobile, on the Batbike. For us, we have to put Batman on the skateboard because we need to go minimal. There's another example that I want to give. So say I've never tried caviar before, and I post on my Facebook page and say, hey, I'm trying caviar for the first time and I paid 10,000 baht for this. All my friends, all my colleagues, all my boss know I paid 10,000 baht for this. And I say, hey, I'm trying out caviar for the first time and it's free. Who do you think is going to tell you the truth that caviar sucks? And you think about all the pilots, all the POCs that we have, that we've invested time, money, and energy into it. If you don't go minimal, you're not going to say, no, we made a mistake and we want to try something else. The other common thing also is a killer new app. And I think this is something we got a couple of proof of concepts and pilots that came our way. And people said, this is the greatest thing that's happened, you know, and it's going to change the whole industry and the way that we do things. I really like this cartoon. It says, I have a vision that our next product will be a tablet-sized computer the size of a dime. Users will lick it and attach it to their eyeballs. Right? Can you finish that in a month? I can fail at any speed you like. There's a very fine line between doing something, proof of concept, trying an experiment, where the unknown is so vast. That guy was either a complete idiot or a complete genius. He knows something that we don't, right? If he knows something that we don't, then we need to explore. This line of unknown is full of assumptions. We need to bring it back so that we have a fair amount of known and unknown. At the other extreme, people already know what they want. They're just saying, hey, let's go through the motion. Proof of concept, pilot, rubber stamp, ooh, we're done. What are you trying to prove? You're not trying to prove anything. There are existing processes for that already. Go ahead and do it. The best way to come up with something new is if we have something in equal quantity. You know, it's kind of like you going into a room full of management and executive, you pitch an idea, and you think half of them is okay with the idea. Half of them is completely uncomfortable with it. If you don't believe me, search Google for Netflix lost years. It's an interesting article. Everybody knows the company Netflix, right? Yeah? How many of you have heard of a company called Quickster? Nobody? Okay. So about 2012 was when Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, spun off a different company called Quickster with the intention of separating out their streaming service and their DVD service, right? Everybody, including people on his board, said he was crazy. Reed Hastings didn't know what he was doing. Do you think he knows what he's doing now? Something new means it's new. You can't tell what's going to happen. The only way to find out what's going to happen is to do it. Try it. And that's part of the challenge we've been trying. You know, the business, the users will come to us and say, hey, we've got this great idea. Okay, let's try it out and see what happens. The third one is what I call my silo. So we have the great idea. We come together. This is a picture of my team just took last week. And you know, when you have an idea, how much time and energy you put in? You're trying to pitch to management. You're trying to pitch to the team that owns the service, right? If you're trying to build a new cloud service, you got to talk to the Google Cloud Platform team, you got to talk to the Azure team, you got to talk to the S3 team, because everybody have got their own silo, and that's their ownership. If we do things right, if I'm telling everybody, hey, we need to push really far to the left, right? This is going to happen here, and it's going to happen here, and it's going to happen here. It's not going to be one or two teams that we have got to ask for permission. It's going to be 10, 12, 15. And I've told my boss, look, we have no time for that. We don't even know what's going to happen. If we do things right, half of them are going to fail. And as they should. If and when we get to this stage, we will engage the right people. So we're going to go ahead and do things that we will ask for forgiveness later. That's what we had to do. So with that in mind, we had an opportunity over the past couple of months to work with our retail service station to try and see. I obviously can't tell you what we did, but we managed to use the three things. We pushed the dollar really back, in terms of experimenting. We experimented a little things, and we tried a couple of different technologies. The team went to, in our work, was very excited. We came up with 10, 12 different things, and we pitched our ideas to the retail service managers. Hey, we've got this great idea. Can we go to the station and just change it? You think he was okay with it? No, of course not. They didn't say, yeah, we don't believe you. It was hesitant, but we needed to come back to ourselves. Hey, look, how can we make this simpler? We don't need to go to the station. This is what we came up with. Simulate paper mock-up inside the company, asking colleagues and friends, say, hey, look, we want to try out something in the station. We tag, try and simulate what it looks like. And we actually learned a lot. Obviously, it's not as good as the real thing. We maybe started with 20 assumptions, eliminated 3 or 4 things, enough to convince ourselves that, yeah, what we're doing is the right thing to do. At the end, I think a couple of you may have heard, the most important thing about innovation is not the business plan, it's not the people, it's not even the people, it's the timing. Sometimes you have great ideas and the world is not ready for it. Sometimes you have great ideas, the team is not ready for it, the business is not ready for it, the technology is not ready for it. And sometimes you feel alone. You're like the single red boat in a bunch of white boats. What do you do, right? If it's not ready, then a term that you will hear a lot from the startups, there's a persevere, pivot, or park. Persevere is easy. Just keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. The more you try, the more you invest, the more difficult it is for you to park or pivot. A pivot is realizing that, yeah, what we thought we wanted to do for this business problem is not actually the case. We need to pivot and try something else. Park is not a failure. It's not now. Yeah, I'm going to keep this innovation idea in the back of my pocket. When the timing is right, I'll bring it right back out. The most important thing also is not everyone is going to get what you're trying to do. We started our journey, and I think my team can probably tell this as well. We say, hey, we're going to work on this thing, and our whip limit is going to be 2. We're going to work on 2 things at a time. Now we've got 13. I still think it's too low. We want to hit 30 and hope that one of them or 2 of them actually wants to work with us in the same, looking for the same thing and the same mindset. So find others that thinks like you. At the end of it, this is a picture from a Red Bull 400. It's a 400-meter race up a ski slope. One of the most challenging things, right? This is what we're trying to do here. At times, it's going to be really difficult because people are used to doing things in the same old ways. But we do recognize that we need to do things differently. And you can't do this alone. I'm grateful for, obviously, for the company, for my managers and our managers, Kun Riya, he's not here today, Kun Suda, and Kun Pengutai for giving us this opportunity to create a team that's going to make a difference. At the end, obviously, we hope that this gives us the opportunity to try and do this in the office. This is not a dream, it's a reality. Thank you. So I think we have some time. I just want to share some of the books. You know, the backwards bicycle that I mentioned, Netflix last year. Take a look at that, because I don't think people realize that Netflix actually went through a lot of challenges before they become successful. Eric Ries's book, 2 books, great for doing startup. He talks a lot about you know, how to get this started in corporate environment, including things called innovation accounting. Sprint, if you're familiar with this book as well, is what Google uses to try and accomplish minimal viable product in 5 days. Accelerate is what John Kotter talks about in terms of how to get 2 types of organization working in you know, in tandem. And Team of Teams, General McChrystal talks about empowerment, you know, about how we can leverage everybody's skills and abilities. So I think, I don't know if we got time for questions, or we just want to go. Any questions? Hey, it's not. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to share us. This is something from agenda. So before